home. There's still crime scene tape up around this house, but I'm going to show you how someone might be able to live in a home with more than a dozen children, and no one would know that children were living there.
They've stated that DNA testing is still underway, although, it is interesting. I heard that last week at a press conference. However, the birth certificates were obtained by ABC6, which stated that Elizabeth and Gary were both the father and mother of these.
So guys, this man was 48 years old in 2002 and married. She was the same age Elizabeth was when she got married. Is that Gary exposed himself to somebody who was not of age. So we have a shocking exposure with the family. When you think it couldn't get any more worse, there is more things going on here. First of all, there's an uncle out there. Well, there was an uncle who married an individual underage, and he was in his 40s. I'm going to show you guys that. And it was in the news. It was in an Ohio newspaper. People were complaining about this. And I have videos of the inside the house that is circulating online. So I'm going to show you guys the video of the house. Plus, there was one room it looked cleaner than the rest of the other rooms. And could this be the reason why the police were there searching the home in the first place? Wait till you hear this about Gary. Stay tuned, Fugitive TV. Welcome to Fugitive TV. I am your host, Marcel. And what we do here is we take a look at cases, missing individuals, anything true crime, anything that needs a deeper look, because hey, that's what I do. I deep dive into these cases, or I can give you a different perspective, because I was once a fugitive on the run from the law myself. I ran for 15 years, lived in different countries under different names, and eventually turned myself in. Now I have this YouTube channel. I help family members locate missing individuals and possibly help them locate fugitives that have done something horrific to their family. We're talking about the Siders right now, okay? I shouldn't have to say much about this case, especially if you clicked on the video. You probably know what's going on. But just to recap, and fair warning, some of these words I kind of have to dance around because YouTube doesn't like when you're talking about minors or people of certain ages mixed with certain things. The video gets flagged or doesn't get spread out to the masses. And this information needs to go out there. So in case you don't know, all right, just a brief description. There's a house in Ohio, all right? 4 people were arrested, the parents and the grandparents. All the offspring are now in some sort of foster care or the hospital because of the conditions they were living in. They call it the House of Horrors. I'm going to show you these videos in just a bit of what the house looked like. Now, we all know that the parents, Gary Jr., okay, and Elizabeth, so Gary and Elizabeth Siders, who are the parents, they married at a young age. Gary was 18, all right, and Elizabeth was 4 years younger when they got married. Now they went out to West Virginia to do this because at the time, West Virginia, it was not against the law. It was legal to do this, okay? Elizabeth's family signed off on it and everything, pretty much gave her away, all right? So some people think Elizabeth is a victim because of this. Well, what if I was to tell you this is not the only time this has happened in the family? Guys, it's not. There is an uncle to Gary that I believe, Richard Eugene Siders, okay? Richard Eugene Siders, who was born in 1954. He was in his 40s, guys. And guess what he did? He married somebody who was the same age as Elizabeth when she got married to Gary Jr. God, in his 40s. He was 30 something years older than her. Now Richard did pass away. Let me show you this. So as you can see right here, he did pass away. This is from the Crow Huso. January 7th, 1954 to September 2nd, 2025. So he just passed away the end of last year. It says Richard Richie Eugene Siders, age 71, of Gallipolis, Ohio, passed away on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, at his home in Gallipolis, surrounded by his family. Richie fought stage 4 cancer for over a year. He fought hard to stay with his family. Richie has a huge family which loved him dearly. His wife Tessie, daughter Shelly, and then it goes on to describe who the rest of the family is. Now, I want to show you this news article by WLWT, okay? This lists Richard and his wife Tessie in this news article, all right? And this article was published September 11th, 2007. Right there. September 11th, 2017. September 11th, 2017. So this is not the first time this family has been in some sort of news article, all right? It says advocates, Ohio's, and you can read right here, all right? Like I said, I gotta be careful what I say. Underage marriage law too liberal. Then look at this underneath. I'm going to put in blue for you. Pregnant girls younger than 16 may marry with parental consent. You hear this? You see this? Do you see that right there in blue? As long as you're expecting and you're under, we all know, you can marry with parental consent. Now, this is in 2017. It says Ohio marriage laws allowing, okay, underages to marry are too liberal and create potential for exploiting the young ones. Set an advocate for organization that's called for ending the marriage of, younger individuals. Ohio requires them to be at least, 16, and males to be at least 18 before they can legally marry, but allows for younger girls to wed with permission of parents as long as they are expecting. All right. So then it says the newspaper found that more than 4,400 women, who were under their age were married in Ohio between 2000 and 2015, including 59 who weren't even old enough to drive. They weren't even old enough to get their permit. That is insane. The executive director of national nonprofit Advocate for ending these marriages says Ohio laws create situations comparable to Iran and Saudi Arabia. So they're saying these laws pretty much are similar to Yemen, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, to Middle Eastern countries. Because in Middle Eastern countries, a lot of those countries, this is stuff that you can do. Shame on Ohio for having 16th century laws still on the books. All right. Now, then it says, people younger than 18 or younger than 18 are allowed to marry in all 50 states, though some states, including Connecticut, New York, and Texas, have recently adopted laws increasing the minimum age for marriage. Now, we're going to go down to where it actually talks about the Siders. Okay? This says right here, the newspaper cited a 2012 study conducted by William and Mary law professor Vivian Hamilton that said teens lack maturity and skills to sustain a marriage. Studies said marriages involving youngers fell at a rate of 80% compared with 30% of those who marry after the age of 24. Newspaper stories highlighted a case of, all right, a woman who was expecting, who's the same age or was the same age as Elizabeth when she got married to Gary. This person married a 48-year-old man in 2022. They remained 15 years later and have 3 children. The now retired judge who permitted the marriage between Tessie and Richard Siders in Southern Ohio's Gallia County said he vaguely recalls the case and acknowledged that prosecutors, and protective services were not involved. Montgomery County juvenile judge Anthony Capizzi said law enforcement should have been alerted when the case came before court. Tessie Siders, now 29, said in an interview conducted by text that she doesn't regret having married at such a young age, but probably wouldn't allow her children to do so. And she said Ohio should change its law to mandate that everyone be 18 before they can do this. Then she goes on to say, yes, some end up to where they're expecting, before the legal age. But if the father truly loves her, he waits the years to marry her, she wrote. Very interesting. Quick pause for my sponsor. Please, if you guys do YouTube, and you do YouTube Live, you do any type of thing like I do right now, and you're using a Mac, this is for all my Mac users, because I use a Mac, whether it's a Mac Air or a Mac Pro, and you're using another form of like StreamYard or something like that, and it keeps glitching or freezing on you, well, try ECAMM. ECAMM actually is designed just for the Mac computer, all right? As you see right here, stream, record, present, download, look better on video easily, YouTube, Zoom, Instagram Live, Twitch, X, Facebook, Amazon Live. I didn't even know there was an Amazon Live, guys. LinkedIn, Switchboard, Restream, OneStream, your all-in-one video tool, You can DSL via USB like I do. I actually use an actual Sony vlogging camera. This is what I do. HDMI capture, screen and audio capture, playback, Blackmagic deck link. The features go on and on. There is so much. Advanced overlays. I use the overlays. You can also, when you're guests, you can have guests. You can send them a link and they can join in. I love this thing. This is one of the best investments I used for my channel. Just to let you guys know, I have no regrets with this. And if you want to try it out, go below in the description, click the link, ECAMM Live. Now let's continue with Fugitive TV. So guys, this man was 48 years old in 2002 and married. She was the same age Elizabeth was when she got married. The exact same age. First of all, who's Tessie's parent? Who's Tessie's parents? They signed off on this? And the next thing is, why is Richard in the facility, in the area, or even in the same room to do anything with somebody that was the same age of Elizabeth? I have a lot of questions here with this one. That's PDF file. R. Kelly's in jail right now because of this. This man literally did what R. Kelly was doing. So, you mean to tell me the judge who signed off on this didn't find anything wrong? Something's wrong with the system. Now, speaking of something being wrong with the system, we're going to get into the system and where they messed up at. And not only that, why they were probably searching the house. Speaking of R. Kelly type of charges, wait till you hear this. But before that, let me tell you about what Gary Jr. is trying to do right now. Gary Jr. right now is trying to put a gag order. And I'm going to explain why he's trying to put a gag order, all right? First of all, let's look at the conditions of the house first. Now, you see this video right here, okay? I mean, it looks horrible. It looks bad. And we all can see this does not look, you know, I don't know how anybody can live in this. Now, this video was from Crime Talk Talk on TikTok, all right? So that's where this video came from. Make sure you go follow them, Crime Talk on TikTok. It's a tongue twister for me. But if you look closely, you guys, on all these videos I'm showing you, you can pause the videos and you will see bugs crawling around. You can literally pause and see bugs crawling around on these videos. I spoke with somebody who actually went to the location because they were curious. They said as soon as you pull up and roll down the window, you smell the house. They said you smell the house as soon as you step outside the car. Now, they didn't go in the house because it's still yellow tape. They didn't want to get in trouble. But they pulled up to the house, stepped outside of the car, so, stepped outside the house, and you can smell the house. They said it was so bad. Imagine a cat litter box 100 times is what they said, what they told me. And I was at the end of or I should say the street. They didn't even walk up to the house because it smelled so bad and they couldn't deal with the stench. And that right there, I can't even imagine. Now, this right here, apparently, this is the owner's bedroom, the main bedroom. And this bedroom allegedly belongs to Gary Sr. and his wife, Christina. It looks like it's the cleanest room in the house. Is it me? Or it looks like it could be the cleanest room in the house. And then when you look at the rest of the home, it just looks horrible. You can't, oh man. It's so bad. Look at that. Look at the bed down there. Who slept on that? Who slept on that? Right above the AC. I wonder if the AC even works. Now, here is a motion for a gag order. So Gary Jr., I shouldn't even say Jr., the attorney for Gary Jr. is trying to put a gag order in, all right? Sorry, I have to cover some of this up because it gives out some information that I don't think I can show. So this says motion for a gag order. Now comes the defendant Gary Siders Jr., defendant by through his undersigned counsel, who respectfully requests that this court issues a gag order to protect defendant right to a fair trial, as guaranteed by the Sixth Amendment to the United States. All right. So, and this is on July 1st, 2026. Several news stories broke about the instant case. Media outlets obtained quotes from Ohio Attorney General office. And this goes on to basically, it's telling you that it's letting us know that, hey, this case is getting out of hand and my client might not have a fair trial because of how out of hand this is getting. And this is this is not what I'm saying. This is what the attorney's saying. All right. Then it says, this case continues to reveal the unimaginable conditions these children were forced to endure. I said yesterday that what investigators encountered was pure evil, and the evidence we uncovered since only reinforced the assessment. Now, what they're doing is they are quoting what the Attorney General said during his press conference. Because during the press conference, you remember the Attorney General was, of course, he's not going to paint any of the siders besides the offspring into a good light. He called them evil and everything else. Then down below, it says these public officials were also quoted in numerous and other national publications, making additional inflammatory statements that will influence the potential juror pool, such as most of our livestock was kept in better conditions than them, said Vinton County Sheriff's Ryan Kane. Just a disgusting scene. They look like almost feral animals. So it goes on to tell us that, hey, they need a gag order in place pretty much because their client Gary is not going to get a fair trial based off what everybody is saying. Now, for people who don't know how the gag order works, it doesn't work to where, like, people like me, we can still talk about it. The gag order works to anybody who is close with this situation, pretty much in court, defendants, attorneys, any of that cannot talk about it outside of the courtroom, meaning there can't be no interviews, meaning none of these lawyers, like how Elizabeth lawyer has been going on interviews. He's not supposed to go on interviews no more. The prosecution can't talk. Nobody can talk about these on interviews, okay? No information is supposed to leak out. That's why they're putting a gag order in. And the reason why is because they don't want information to leak out to make Gary Jr. look bad. Even though he's already looking bad, they don't want it to leak out even further to make him look even worse. Because you have to remember, if it goes to trial, they're going to choose jurors from that district, from that county. That county's not that big. It's what, 1,300 people? It's not. And I'm pretty sure all of these people know what's going on already. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next motion from a few of these lawyers are going to be, hey, we need to hold this trial in a different county. That's if it goes to trial. All right. But that is the purpose for a gag order, and while they're doing that. Now, there's one big piece of information that has came out the same time this gag order has came out, guys. And I'm wondering why, or is this the reason why he's putting this gag order? Because of this information. Now, remember, the police were doing a parallel investigation. Meaning they were investigating another crime or another situation on top of the situation of them being there. So it was like two different investigations going on. Now, we do know that the Siders pretty much allegedly got in trouble in a different county. Because you remember, they've been living in this county for 4 years. But they were living in another county. All right. Now, in that county, Protective Services allegedly got involved, went and visited the home. It was like 6 truancy charges, meaning when you don't take your children to schools, pretty much what they charged them with, all right? Now, instead of facing up to that, the Siders packed up and left and moved into the house that they're in now. So they're in this house now, right? Some people are saying that because of what happened in another county, this is why the parallel investigation is going on. But wait, hold your brakes. There's some new information that's been leaked, guys. So remember the 6 counts of the exposure, or 4 counts, sorry, of the exposure? And it was at the address, the family's address, but with a non-family member. And we're all trying to figure this out. Was it outside? Was it a neighbor? There's not even a lot of neighbors that live by that home. This information that leaked, apparently, okay, is that Gary exposed himself to somebody who was not of age. This person wasn't even old enough to get their permit. It was a young woman who, if they were going to school, you would say probably should have been in 8th, 9th grade. And that's what these indecent, or I should say these exposures came from. And then on top of that, somebody made some sort of a call from inside the home that they might have to unalive themselves. So because of that, they had to go do a welfare check on top of the exposures. I don't know if this is true. I'm gonna let you guys know this now. I don't know if this is true, but this is information that was leaked to me. And this was leaked to me around the same time I got these documents for the gag order. And those search warrants, if you remember, they were sealed by a probate judge. A probate judge deals with family affairs. And sealed by a criminal judge, which files criminal charges. Is that why these were sealed? Because of the victims and what their ages are? Think about that. When you are a victim of a crime, if you're an adult, sometimes it's out there. John Smith was the victim of this. But if you're not of age and you're a victim, they're not going to expose that a lot in most states. So is that why these search warrants were sealed? So could this information be true? If it is true, what kind of sick is Gary into? Then it makes you wonder, was he doing other things inside the home? So you have Uncle Richard in 2002 doing what he did. Then you have years later, Gary Jr. doing what he did. I'm sorry, guys. And you might hate me for saying this, but, and I said it before. Isn't that sick? Wouldn't these people have to register? Really, if you think about it, wouldn't these people have to be registered offenders? If I was to go do something like this, I know well off I'm gonna have to sign up to be an offender if I did what these guys are doing. And but that is why probably they're trying to do a motion for this gag order. Now, there's rumors out there that all 16 are Elizabeth's. It's been confirmed. Let me tell you guys right now, it has not been confirmed that all 16 is hers yet. Now, I do know they are conducting DNA tests. Now, we don't know if we're going to get the results of that because, as far as I know, I believe DNA test is part of HIPAA guidelines. So I don't know if they, going to release that or not. But they are conducting DNA tests. We don't know if they came back or not. All right, we don't know. Now, when you hear people saying they're all hers, the reason why they're saying that is because of the birth certificates. Now, the birth certificates were uncovered, okay? So they all were uncovered. They all do have birth certificates, all right? But the issue is anybody can sign a birth certificate. Anybody can sign a birth certificate, guys. That does not mean that that offspring is yours just because you signed off on the birth certificate. So Gary Jr. did sign off on all of them, but there is no concrete evidence yet that all 16 came from Elizabeth. Now, we all know Gary Sr. is going through medical conditions. They're saying he might not be coherent, which he probably isn't. Some people are even saying that his wife Elizabeth might not be coherent either. Now, we do know they were the only ones getting some sort of a check from the state. This explains why they lived so poor, but it doesn't explain why they lived in filth. Okay? Does not, just because you poor does not mean you live like that. I grew up in my childhood, all right, sometimes only eating one meal a day. I remember my mom making cornmeal mush. What do you guys know about cornmeal mush? Or some tuna casserole without the casserole, because that was all she can afford and that's all we ate for the day. I'm hungry, I gotta go eat ice cubes or ice water. Or we had a little bit of sugar, make some sugar water or something like that. Bread and butter, okay? I'm not saying I grew up like that from the start to the end, but there was a lot of times like that. But guess what? We didn't live in no filth. Our house was nowhere near dirty because we took pride in what we had. So just because you don't have money or you're living poor does not mean you have to live like that. Now, some of the family has came out and they are speaking. I'm going to show you a post. This post is from a niece. All right. Now, I'm reading this from a Facebook from the Pasco show. I watch the Pasco show sometimes. So this is from the Pasco show. He posted this. But this is from the niece. It says, y'all just know my Aunt Lenny and Uncle Gary can't be in their right state of mind because they would have never allowed them kids to live like that. And I'm starting to believe they both do have dementia. I keep watching the court videos and it's like they have no clue what's going on. Like, I agree with Uncle Gary's lawyer. They need to check them too and make sure they aren't victims too. I just feel it in my heart that Bub, who is Gary Jr., was abusing them. And I just feel it to them all Bub's life. We could do no wrong. He was their baby. So they're basically saying Gary Jr. was their baby and he could do no wrong. All right. I feel it in my heart something is wrong with them. And that's why they was living like that. And I think the marks on Uncle Gary's wrist, he was tied down. I wish people that was close to them would have got them all help. It breaks my heart seeing them too like that, because I know in my heart that's not them. And if I'm proven wrong, then yes, they deserve to be punished. I just know that's not them and not something they would allow. Like, I grew up with their kids and we was always there and the house would be clean. If you didn't know her, you wouldn't understand her heart, especially for kids. Sorry, it's kind of difficult to read because the grammar is not the best. Honestly, don't know what to think. I just can't stop watching the court videos. I can tell they ain't in their right state of mind. They are lost. Don't get me wrong. It's proven they are in their right state of mind and allowed, and they do need to be punished for it. Just as the parents. All right. So that right there is from the niece. Now, I don't know about the whole family, but I do know what I've seen from some of the families, especially Gary Jr. with his handwriting when he signed his name, that the education levels were not high within some of the family members. Which could mean, lower IQs, things of that nature, but that still does not give them the right to live in total disarray filth. Now, here's a post from another family member. It says, I think most of what's happening in this specific case has been blown away, out of proportion. I mean, I could be wrong, of course, but I honestly, truly want to believe that because while the entire picture is dark and scary, I don't think it's really as dark and scary as the internet can be. I don't know the family member that wrote this. I don't know if they saw the same pictures and videos that I just showed you, but in that side, that house is dark and scary. I can only speak from my own experience. No one else's. It's sad and tragic all the way around, but maybe they all thought they were doing the best they could with extremely limited resources. It spiraled way out of hand. Resources as in money, education, support, just outside POV resources in general. So let me get this straight. You need education to learn how to keep your house clean. You need education to learn how to take a shower. There was reports that they would show up to the store. There was a pizza shop owner. He said he hated when they showed up to get a pizza from him because they would walk in and leave the smell inside the pizza place. So you need education to learn. You need soap and water. You need education to learn. You need to grab a hefty bag and throw some trash away. This post goes on to say, there really are weirdos everywhere, but I think as twisted as things often seem from the outside looking in, it's certainly possible they all thought they were somehow protecting their offspring and themselves from the insanity in the world while also creating a whole lot of their own. Maybe I'm entirely wrong. Again, I don't know because no one knows exactly what happened until after the court process plays out. And even then, the internet has made this whole situation way worse. The internet has made this situation worse. Your family members made the situation worse. When you live in a house the way that house looked, that's as worse as it gets. When you pull up to the street and you open your window from the car and you can smell litter boxes and there's no... that's as worse as it can get. So you guys, you can let me know what you think below on all this situation. Do you think the judge should allow a gag order so Gary Jr. can get a fair trial? So that way, when they do go and select the jury members, maybe a juror is not tainted by what has been said or what could be out there. If his lawyer was smart, he should be asking for the trial, if there is going to be a trial, to be in a different county or district. Then be honest with you, I wouldn't even be asking for a trial. I'd probably be asking for a plea deal. There's too much evidence going on against him right now. So I don't know. Do you think the grandparents, not just Gary Sr., but like how the post I read earlier, Christina, the grandma, do you think they're both innocent and both not, able to stand trial, both not mentally there? Now, the one thing I can tell you is that why was their room allegedly, and I showed you the picture, cleaner than the rest of the house? Somebody in that room had enough sense to at least keep their room a little more cleaner than the rest of it. Just by looking at that picture, somebody, and it might be Christina, is coherent enough to clean. Now, I'm not saying the room was the best ever, but when you look at that room compared to the rest of the house, if you had to sleep in one of the rooms, life or death, I mean, if you had to, would probably be theirs after looking at that picture. Because if they were both insane, or whatever you want to call it, you would think their room would look the same as the rest of the house. But hey, I don't know. I'm just bringing to you this news and facts and everything that I read. But you guys let me know. What do you think about this? Should Gary have a gag order? Are both grandparents innocent? Could they both be victims? And what do you think about the uncle? Does this run in the family? Is there anybody else in the family line that has done something like this? Because shouldn't that be a charge? It's insane. It's crazy. But you guys, please let me know below, comment below where you're watching this from. It helps with the algorithm. It helps spread the video. And guys, my goal was to reach 30,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. The summer's not even over with yet. And I have reached over 30,000. I've reached 30,100 subs and the summer's not even over with. I'm one of the fastest growing YouTube channels, not just in true crime, because at first it was in true crime, but no, in all of YouTube. Thanks to you guys. I appreciate it. I am in the top 25% within the last couple of weeks of all creators with views. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. And comment below, all right? Join the membership. The membership helps support the channel and it helps with my goal of doing this full time for you guys and making this channel as big as I can, all right? Because that is my ultimate goal with this. And please take care. Love one another. Go to the description below, see what you can find out. Look out your surroundings, watch your surroundings. This is Fugitive TV. Until next time, I'm out.